Get ready.
Welcome back to Attraction Graveyard, a series where we look at rides and attractions that are sadly no longer with us. In today's video, we take a walk through the Cedar Point attraction graveyard and highlight some of the attractions which have closed during the park's 150-year existence. Get ready. Number 10. Challenge Park. Challenge Park was a small area at Cedar Point Park that gave guests the opportunity to take part in a variety of games, such as mini golf, go-karting, and skyscraping, among others. It first opened in 1992 and remained open for 24 years before closing for the final time in 2016. The area was specifically located between Cedar Point and its water park, Soak City. However, the area was closed due to the expansion of Soak City, which eventually was renamed as Cedar Point Shores. A second Challenge Park area could also be found in Cedar Point's sister park, Valley Fair, but this was also closed in 2013. Number 9. Turnpike Cars. Unlike most of the Cedar Point rides we're used to today, Turnpike Cars was pretty relaxed. The ride saw guests ride around in electronic replicas of classic cars from the 50s and 60s. Overall, this really was a family-friendly ride and ran for nearly 55 years, closing in 2014. At the time of its closing, the ride was the third oldest in the whole Cedar Point Park. Originally, the attraction actually had two separate tracks, but in 1994, this was reduced to one to make room for Raptor. Thinking about this now, this could have been the writing on the wall, as it showed that maybe Turnpike Cars was the type of attraction that Cedar Point viewed as expendable. However, this one-track attraction did last for another 20 years, so we can't be 100% sure about that. Number 8. Dinosaurs Alive. Dinosaurs Alive is the most recent closure on this list, only shutting its doors in 2018. The attraction was a dinosaur-themed walkthrough, with a total of 50 animatronic dinosaurs. The area covered a whopping 4 acres, which really helped immerse guests in a prehistoric world. Even more impressively, the dinosaurs were also built to scale. This meant that during the trail, you could run into dinosaurs whose height ranged from a couple of feet right up to 30 feet. Many Cedar Point fans, including ourselves, were sad when it was announced that this attraction was being replaced by Forbidden Frontier. Replicas of the attraction could also be found in the other Cedar Fair parks. However, the last of these closed in October 2019. Number 7. Skyscraper. Located in the aforementioned Challenge Park, Skyscraper was a booster type ride. In short, riders who dared to go on Skyscraper, which was probably most people at Cedar Point, would be rotated at 55 miles per hour with a max height of 160 feet. Skyscraper was removed from the park at the end of the 2015 season, after opening for the first time in 2008. The attraction had also previously operated in Valley Fair and Dorney Park, but has since closed a number of years ago. In summary, Skyscraper was a decent attraction that we think deserves a mention. Let us know in the comments below if you ever had a chance to ride Skyscraper before it closed. Number 6. Whitewater Landing. Whitewater Landing was a log flume ride that opened in the early 1980s. The ride was located in Frontier Town and was themed similar to the area. In total, the ride lasted about 5 minutes, reached speeds of 35 miles per hour, and featured a 45-foot drop, making it a thrilling experience for all who rode it. Unfortunately though, in 2005 it was announced that Whitewater Landing would be closing to make way for another attraction, and the ride subsequently closed. It was not until 2006 that this new attraction was announced as Maverick. It's difficult to imagine Cedar Point today without Maverick, so overall it was probably a good decision. Nevertheless, Whitewater Landing will be remembered as one of the better closed Cedar Point attractions. Number 5. Earthquake. Next on our list is something a little different. Cedar Point has never really been known for its dark rides. However, in 1965, Earthquake was opened and operated as a dark ride in the park until 1984. Similar to its name, the attraction was themed around the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Here at the first drop, we are as much fans of dark rides as the thrilling coasters found at Cedar Point today. For that reason, we would have liked the opportunity to ride this attraction, and potentially would like to see more dark rides open in the park in the future. Did you ever get a chance to ride Earthquake at Cedar Point? If so, let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. Number 4. Jumbo Jet. Possibly one of the shortest lived Cedar Point rides ever, lasting a total of only 6 years. Jumbo Jet was a steel coaster which operated in the park between 1972 and 1978. The coaster was manufactured by Schwarzkopf and featured a number of 90-degree sections, as well as an ACT-style radar prop which could be seen rotating above the ride. Jumbo Jet was originally replaced by Wildcat, which was then replaced by Avalanche Run, and finally the area is now home to Gatekeeper. Again, it would be hard to imagine Cedar Point today without Gatekeeper. Did you ever get a chance to ride any of these coasters? Let us know in the comments below which one you thought was the best. Number 3. Demon Drop. Demon Drop was a classic free-fall drop tower ride, manufactured by Intamin, which opened in Cedar Point way back in 1983. To summarise, the drop itself was about 60 feet high, which was said to leave riders with a feeling of weightlessness due to the speed of the drop, which was about 55 miles per hour. It was rumoured in 2005 that Demon Drop may be closed and transferred to another park. However, it wasn't until 2009 that it was announced that the ride was to be transferred to Cedar Point's sister park, Knott's Berry Farm. But in the end, it was decided that the ride would instead move to Dorney Park and reopen there in 2010. Number 2. Wildcat. You may remember earlier on in this list we mentioned Wildcat. Well, you would be right in thinking that Wildcat was the coaster that replaced Jumbo Jet. However, in 1979, Wildcat was then rebuilt in another area of the park, where it remained until its closure in 2011. With regards to concept, Wildcat was a Wild Mouse themed steel coaster which had a top speed of 40 miles per hour. In short, Cedar Point decided after a total of 3 different locations in the park that Wildcat no longer had the same effect it once had. It was initially removed to allow for the expansion of Celebration Plaza. As well as this, some viewers may be interested to know that part of where Wildcat was located now houses part of Valraven. Based on this, maybe removing it wasn't the worst decision after all. Number 1. Mean Streak. Last but not least on our trip through the attraction graveyard is Mean Streak. Mean Streak was a wooden coaster which operated at Cedar Point between 1991 and 2016. At the time of opening, Mean Streak held all the records for both height and biggest drop for any wooden coaster in the world. Upon its closing in 2016, a lot of coaster fans were sad to see it go. However, it would be unlike Cedar Point to close such a popular attraction without having a plan in place. As a result of this, potentially one of the best coasters in the world was born, Steel Vengeance. With the opening of Steel Vengeance in 2018, which smashed coaster records globally, Cedar Point had again delivered well above expectation. If you like this video, make sure to check out our attraction graveyard video on Universal Studios Florida, on screen now. That concludes our trip through the Cedar Point attraction graveyard. Now you're ready. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already.